buy the full price. It's 110. Do we have to give back the clothes? They're cheap. I'll be real.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2 1 2 3. 1 2 1 2. Okay. Here we go, guys.
Good morning. My name is Rohan Collins. Good morning. My name is Rohan Collins. I'm your all-student body president. Thank you for joining us today for our Bentonville West 2022 Veterans Day program. The JROTC will now join us for the presentation of colors. Please stand.
Carry colors. Forward. March. Left. 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 Right. Left. Detail. Up. Center. Face. Present. Colors.
Good morning. I am Senior Class President Sarah Faddis. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence, followed by the singing of the National Anthem by our chamber choir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for a moment of silence. Now for the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose rough stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please retire the colors. Please retire the colors.
Hi, my name is Lauren Jackson, and I'm the captain of the BWHS Speech and Debate Team. I joined you this morning to share a brief history of Veterans Day. Veterans Day, formerly known as Armistice Day, became a U.S. legal holiday to honor the end of World War I, which officially took place on November 11, 1918. Legislation passed in 1938 marked November 11th as dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be hereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day. As such, this new legal holiday honored World War I veterans. In 1954, Congress amended the Act of 1938 by replacing the word armistice and by inserting the word veterans to account for those who served in both World War II and the Korean War. With the approval of this legislation, November 11th became a day to honor American veterans of all wars. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Toby Babalola, and at this time, I would like to recognize the members of Bentonville West High School's staff who have served our country in the military. Veterans, please stand as I call your name. Our first staff member served in the Air Force for 3.5 years in data links and air surveillance. She moved here from California last year to take a position in our special education department. Ladies and gentlemen, Amber Hartline. This Bentonville West High School special education teacher joined the Army after the September 11th attacks. As a native New Yorker, he wanted to help defend democracy and worked in nuclear, chemical, and biological defense for 4 years and is an Operation Iraq combat veteran. We're fortunate to have Mr. Wilbur Rubio here at Bentonville West. This Bentonville West assistant principal served as an Army Air Defense Artillery officer for 5 years after graduating from the United States Military Academy at West Point. Following his military career, he worked in the business world before finding his passion as a teacher, coach, and administrator in schools in Washington, Colorado, and now Northwest Arkansas. Please welcome West Stone Takuma Williams. This school resource officer served as a naval firefighter for 6 years. After retiring from the Navy, he chose a career in law enforcement, where he rose to the rank of sergeant at the Centerton Police Department. He now serves here at Bentonville West, where he works to keep all of us safe. Please welcome Sergeant Jeremy Walt. This Bentonville West computer science teacher served as a cavalry scout in the Army for 7 years. After retiring from the Army, he went on to teach math and science at the collegiate level, then here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Purcell. As a member of the United States Air Force, this staff member served as an air crew flight equipment specialist for 9 years. He joined our staff this fall, where he serves as our in-school suspension coordinator. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Baumauer. Our next honoree served as an engineer with both the U.S. Army and Navy for 23 years. In the last 2 years before he retired in 2019, he was stationed in the Middle East as the Navy's senior engineer and was responsible for over $1 billion in projects. He gave all that up to come teach calculus at Bentonville West. Please welcome John Jeffrey. Our next honoree served as a surface warfare officer with the United States Navy for 28 years. He was mobilized to the Middle East in 2012. He currently serves as our Navy National Defense Cadet Corps instructor. Please welcome Commander James Michael Davis. Thank you all for your service.
Thank you so much. There was one of our PTO officers is here. I want to honor him as well. An Army veteran, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andrew McCabe. Thank you, Rohan, Sarah, Lauren, and Toby. Great job this morning. And welcome to all of you to our 2022 Veterans Day program. It brings a tear to my eye to see our veterans honored. We don't honor them enough, and to do that today is very special. So we appreciate them being here, and more than that, their service. At this time, we're going to hear from our chamber choir under the direction of Miss Kayla Abernathy. They're going to sing a song called Three Patriotic Treasures, arranged by Greg Gilpin.
Give me your touch, your pour, your heart old masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, send these, send these, the homeless tempest tossed to me. I lift my lamp, I lift my lamp.
Thank you very much, choir. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Our guest speaker this morning is Representative Steve Womack. Congressman Womack has represented the 3rd District of Arkansas since his election in 2010. 2 days ago, he was elected to his 7th term in the U.S. House of Representatives. He is currently a senior member of the House Appropriations Committee, where he is the ranking member of the Financial Services and General Government Subcommittee. He also sits on the Defense and Transportation, Housing and Urban Development subcommittees. He formerly served as the chairman of the House Budget Committee and has been on the Republican whip team since his arrival in Congress. When I first met Congressman Womack, he was the mayor of Rogers, where he served for 12 years. This morning, I'd like to briefly focus on his military career. He joined the Army National Guard. You can see a picture there. Sorry, Congressman Womack, Wikipedia. He joined the Army National Guard shortly after he graduated from Arkansas Tech in 1979. He held multiple positions in the Guard, including platoon leader, troop commander, battalion commander, and regimental commander. He retired from the Arkansas Army National Guard in 2009 at the rank of colonel with more than 30 years of service. His military awards include the Legion of Merit, the Arkansas Distinguished Service Medal, and in 2015, he was presented with the Harry S. Truman Award, the highest award given by the National Guard Bureau. He currently serves as the chairman of the United States Military Academy at West Point Board of Visitors, where he supports West Point in its mission to train the next generation of Army officers. He was appointed to the board in 2012 and subsequently elected as board chairman in 2017. He's currently the only congressional representative from Arkansas to serve on that board. Closer to home, Representative Womack helps our Bentonville West students procure appointments to service academies. In the short time since our school opened in 2016, he has helped place multiple students at our nation's premier leadership development institutions. We are fortunate to have him here today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Congressman Steve Womack.
Thank you, Dr. Guthrie, for that kind introduction. Dr. Jones, fellow veterans, faculty and staff, students of Bentonville West, you've honored me in a very special way here this morning by giving me an opportunity to share a few moments with you the day before we celebrate Veterans Day. You saw or heard just a few minutes ago the history of Veterans Day, tracing back all the way to World War I when at the end of that war, at the 11th hour on the 11th day of the 11th month, the war to end all wars came to a close and Armistice Day resulted. And as you heard in the history, Congress recognized it in the 1920s with a concurrent resolution, made it a legal holiday in the 1930s, and while it was primarily to honor the veterans of World War I, after World War II and the Korean War, the word armistice was replaced with veterans, and since that time, this day has been set aside for the nation to honor those who serve. This morning, every one of us hit the lottery. No, not the Powerball. But we woke up in the greatest country on the face of the planet. And we have the great fortune of living in a nation where so many have fought and in some many sad cases have died for this idea of liberty. A nation of the people, by the people, and for the people. A nation of inalienable rights granted by our Creator, giving us the opportunity to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. Each of these secured by the sacrifices made by those willing to defend her, some on this stage. And on this day, it matters not if you've engaged in combat or if your service record was performed just during peacetime. Veterans Day is for everyone who has donned the uniform of the American service member, willing, each of them by oath, to go anywhere, at any time, fight any foe, leaving loved ones behind, risking their lives for something bigger than themselves. Now, these are the true heroes of America. Since the early 70s, and for most of America's storied history, our military has been voluntary. It remains an all-volunteer force to this day. The brave men and women of our Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, and the Space Force come from all walks of life, men and women alike, all races and ethnicities, all religions and political persuasions. The all-volunteer force is part of America's true genius. It separates this nation from all others. And to the individual service member, a strict adherence to a code of conduct and ethics, like the soldier's creed of the American Army soldier, and a commitment to the nation promising to serve the people of the United States and live the Army values, that they will always place the mission first, that they will never accept defeat, that they will never quit, and that they will never leave a fallen comrade. I was in Dallas last week for the annual Army Air Force football game. I saw a man, an elderly man, a veteran, whom I recognized. He had his dog with him. And that dog was leading him off the floor of Globe Life Field down a hallway, and I knew this veteran from a previous engagement, and I knew his history. Now, I had my 9-year-old grandson with me, and I didn't want the moment to be so fleeting that I didn't get an opportunity to allow Caden a chance to shake this man's hand. He is truly one of our great heroes. The guy's name was Bruce Crandall. Now, that may not mean anything to the people gathered in this audience, and perhaps later you can Google Bruce. He was 24 years and 1 day older than me, a veteran of the Vietnam War. He was an old, crusty helicopter pilot. It was November 14th, 1965. Bruce led the first major division operation of the Vietnam War in the famous Battle of Ia Drang. During the fierce battle that followed, he was credited with evacuating some 70 wounded soldiers, along with his wingman, Major Ed Freeman. At least a dozen of his helicopter flights that day were made after responding medevac units refused to go in. Crandall evacuated more than 75 casualties in the helicopters. Notice I said helicopters, plural, during a flight day that started at 6 in the morning and ended at about 10:30 that night. He had to use several helicopters because each of them became disabled at some point in time, badly damaged by hostile fire. He and Freeman were also credited with flying in the ammunition needed for the 7th Cavalry to survive that battle. The helicopter he flew was unarmed. In a White House ceremony in February of 2007, Bruce Crandall was awarded our nation's highest award for valor, the Medal of Honor. I don't know if Caden could fully grasp the moment he had in that hallway in that baseball stadium, where he is shaking hands and exchanging coins with one of about 65 remaining living Medal of Honor recipients. Mission first. Never accept defeat. Never quit. Never leave a fallen comrade. Students of Bentonville West, that's why we celebrate like we will celebrate tomorrow. There are thousands of stories of heroism and bravery that line the history books of our military. And it's why we have the opportunity today and tomorrow to gather in this auditorium and pay our respects. It's why we were able to worship as we choose, to hold our government accountable through elections like just 2 days ago, the privilege of raising our families in such a beautiful land, seeking our own purpose in life, and free to experience the joy of being a free American. It's all made possible by the people in uniform. As a member of Congress, I have the honor of interacting with these servicemen and women on a daily basis. As a defense appropriator, I have a hand in writing the budgets of our armed forces. I have personal relationships with the highest ranking people in the American military establishment. Not only that, but I also engage with students just like you for consideration to attend one of our service academies. Wolverines, like Pierce Guthrie, who just a few years ago was roaming the hallways of this great school and later committing to one of the most difficult 47-month experiences available today. And now, just a year and a half away from taking the oath of an Army officer and the prospect of leading men and women in the Army, maybe even in the crucible of ground combat. And Madison Phillips, who just 2 years ago sat where you are in hopes of following in Pierce's footsteps. And I'm proud to say that just a few weeks ago, this former Wolverine was honored by her peers. She was named the class president for the West Point class of 2026. And there are others Cheyenne Waters, who's at the Coast Guard Academy and will graduate in 24. Elizabeth Lamey, a Bentonville product, a Bentonville Tiger, who will graduate this year at the United States Air Force Academy. Samantha Abel, out of this school, who's attending the U.S. Naval Academy, class of 25. And Sydney Ruda, a Bentonville Tiger, who's in that class of 26. These are people I look up to. These are people I have helped along the way to achieve their biggest dreams. And I am eternally grateful that they are willing to do so. Before I close this morning, I want to share a story with you because I think it's appropriate for a day like today. I've told this story a lot, and I'm sure I will tell it over and over again because it happens to be classified as one of the, probably the greatest thing, the most incredible thing that I've ever witnessed in my life. Several years ago, I was sitting in the U.S. Capitol in a meeting room hearing a briefing from the Surgeons General of our military. Each of them 3-star generals. And Patty Horoho, who was the Surgeon General of the U.S. Army, was briefing our subcommittee. And she said this that caught my attention. She said, "Mr. Chairman, before I close my presentation this morning, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Sergeant Brendan Morocco." And she pointed to her right, and there was Sergeant Morocco seated right in front of me in a wheelchair. She goes on to say that Sergeant Morocco enlisted in the Army in 2008 from Staten Island, New York. Normal kid, hopes and dreams in front of him, but felt compelled to join the military and serve his country. A year later, it was Easter Sunday, 2009. Coming back from a mission in Iraq as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom, an IED, an explosive device, was triggered on the side of the road, and the projectile came right through the driver's door and immediately killed the driver and injured the others in the vehicle, including Sergeant Morocco. The blast simultaneously ripped from Sergeant Morocco's body both arms and both legs. Now, in describing this scene, challenge you to think of the moment when one of America's heroes is hit and becomes pretty much most of just nothing more than a bloody torso on the battlefield. But his heart kept beating, and because of our battlefield medicine, we were able to get him care and get him evacuated to the rear and onto additional medical treatment. As General Horoho told this story, I saw a tear well up in Sergeant Morocco's eye and start the slow pathway down his cheek. Horoho continued. She said, "Mr. Chairman, In December of 2012, in a 13-hour surgery, a team of doctors and scientists and engineers working collaboratively attached and made Brendan Morocco the first recipient of a double arm and or double hand transplant surgery. And this is what I saw that I consider the most incredible thing I've ever witnessed in my 65 years of life. I saw Brendan Morocco wipe away a tear using someone else's arms. Think about the moment. Think about what Sergeant Morocco has endured. Think about the greatness of America, made great because of people like Sergeant Morocco. And think about how great your country is when it can inspire young men and women like Brendan to just join the military, to serve their country. Think about how great your country is that when one of those service members encounters enemy contact and suffers such a horrific injury as did Brendan, that we have the expertise to be able to save his life on the battlefield, evacuate him to the rear, and begin the long process of healing and saving his life. And then think about the greatness of America that is so great that it would pique the curiosity of people like you to want to go on and study science and medicine and engineering and have the ability, had the God-given ability to be able to take two cadaver arms and hands, put them on a foreign body, and attach all of the body parts to where they could actually work again. That's the country you woke up in this morning. So my mission today is not necessarily to try to inspire every single one of you to want to run off to the recruiter or come see me at about an academy. If you want to, we'll have that conversation. My mission is not necessarily to just ask you to go serve your country in uniform. There are many ways you can serve your country. So here's what I want to leave you with. My challenge to each of you. And I got to tell you, for a product of the Bentonville Public Schools, Dr. Jones, anything short of this would be unacceptable. To love your country. I mean, love your country. To honor those who defend her. To pass these values down through future generations, and to never miss an opportunity to thank a veteran. And like them, I want you to stand tall and stand at attention with your hand over your heart in grateful acknowledgement of your freedoms when you see those colors pass by or when you hear Gayla Abernathy's chamber choir sing honors to this nation. That's my challenge. You can do this. You should do this. So in closing, I'll leave you with the words of one of my most favorite of all patriotic songs, America the Beautiful. And we could probably all recite from memory the first verse, but that's not the verse. It's the third verse. It says, "Oh, beautiful, for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life." I am honored to be in front of one of the most patriotic school assemblies in my district. It's why I chose to be here today. It is an honor and a privilege to serve you. I wish you well, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman Womack, for being here today and for your service to our country. We appreciate that. If you are one of the veterans recognized today, a member of Student Council, West Leadership Organization, JROTC, or a potential military academy candidate, please join me at the front after we're dismissed today. Before we do that, I'd like for our veterans to stand one more time. Congressman Womack, one more time. Let's honor them one more time. Thank you. Students, I want to thank you. Great job for your attention. I hope you enjoyed our meeting today as much as I did. Thank you. This concludes our assembly. Now you're going to head to Flex Session 6.4. Again, you go to Flex 6.4. Thank you. Do work you can be proud of, and have a great day.
Just sprint.